What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Smoking Weed and Talking MMA. This is episode number 32. My name is Jared. I'm here with my friend Paul.
What's up?
We're in Las Vegas, Nevada. On today's episode, we're going to be talking all about the awesomeness that was UFC 236 with the two interim title fights up top. We're going to be taking a look at the lightweight title picture and how those fights affect it. We're going to take a look at some upcoming UFC main events over the next couple weeks. And we're going to be discussing the heavyweight title picture with some news that's come out recently. And as always, we will have our Fighter Who Smokes segment and our personal favorite, the Weed of the Week.
Smoke weed every day.
What did you just fire up here on this little joint here? Some Jenny Kush?
Some Jenny Kush.
I like Jenny Kush. This is a good strain, man. It's
Yeah,
one
I
of my
like it.
favorites. It's a good balance between indica and sativa. I'm gonna hit this. This is grown by Cultivation Labs, which is I have a review with them on my other fucking show. They're really good cultivators out here. Like, I'm a fan. Like, their shit is fucking on point. But Jenny Kush is a good strain. It's named after memory of Jenny Munson, who was a cannabis activist in Colorado, my home state. She died in 2013, right after I moved out here to Las Vegas. She was unfortunately killed in a car accident by a drunk driver, dude. 34 years old, left 4 children behind, which is actually why this strain that we're smoking now was created. A company out in Colorado called, was it Rare Dankness? They're a seed company. They created this, I think it's Amnesia Haze crossed with Rare Dankness #2. And in the beginning, all the proceeds from this strain went to a foundation set up to help Jenny's children, which is
awesome.
cool. Yeah, so then now, of course, we're left with the memory of her and some delicious herb that is her namesake.
Yep.
Which is really one of my favorite strains. And I've smoked this from Cultivation Labs for a while now. I bought it here in these pre-rolls, and I've bought it as regular flower, and it's on point.
I feel it.
They got good shit. We also got some of that Tahoe OG we had last week left over, which we have gone ahead and layered a few bowls with that and some keef. So, what do you think of this?
I like it.
It's pretty flavorful. Yeah, it's smooth. It's a little citrusy. This joint's a little small. This one, I was surprised when I opened it up. I thought it was going to be one pre-roll, and I was like, man, that's a little short on this package. And then it had the 2 half grams, which I guess is cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Same difference. But these are a little small. We'll break out that other one. Hit that bowl. This Tahoe OG is an indica, and this keef in it is mixed with like 30 different kinds of weed. So we should get nice and fucked up off that. I hope if you're listening, folks, you should fire up some of that good weed too. And let's get to talking about, let's just dive right into UFC 236. Dude, this past weekend, I mean, there was some great fights on the card, but those top 2 fights, the main and the co-main, Jesus
2 of the best
Christ,
fights
dude.
you'll ever see.
What the hell?
I mean, the main event wasn't as good as the co-main, but everyone came. How do you give someone fight of the night after that? Like,
Oh, no, well, we had the co-main was Isarel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gatelum for the 185-pound interim title fight. And then the main event, of course, was Max Halloway, the reigning 145-pound king, against Dustin Poirer for the interim 155-pound strap.
Yep.
And you're right, the second fight, the main was not quite as good, but that's not taking anything away.
Because
away
literally
from it.
the co-main could have been the best fight I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Who would have thought that? I mean, I thought we would be in for a night of good fights, but that was incredible.
It's
That
crazy.
was really, really, really
Craziness.
What was your favorite of the two? Was Gastelum versus Adesanya, which
100%.
Adesanya won by all unanimous decision, but really that could have been stopped at the end of the 5th round.
Yeah.
I would say.
And if it would have went the other way, I think that would have been a much bigger question in everyone's eyes. I mean, although in that round 5, you can't deny Adesanya just fucked him up.
No, it was probably a 10-8 round. I mean, I don't see how it couldn't be.
Yeah, I think it was scored that way too.
Yeah, the scores reflect that because I had it tied 2-2 personally going into
I did too.
going into the fifth, and then that was a 10-8.
Yeah, I think Gaslam won 1, Adesanya won 2 and 3, Gaslam won 4, and then Adesanya had a 10-8 and 5.
You know, as a quick aside, let's talk about this joint for a second. Like, we started talking off how smooth it was, but now we're both coughing our fucking asses off. And did you know that there's a theory? Tell me what you think of it. I don't know if we've ever talked about it. That like most of the pre-rolls that you get, not from all companies, but most of them are just the pure shit weed that's left over, the scraps off the floor when they're done trimming, fucking etc. What do you think about that?
I've never heard that, but damn, I don't know.
I don't know. Sometimes I've got like these are okay. They're a little harsh here halfway through, but I've gotten some pre-rolls that were shit. And there's actually an Instagram account by a dude in California called What's in My Pre-Roll, where he like disassembles pre-rolls and then shows people like this horrible shit that's inside a lot of them.
I don't know if that's very true around everywhere though, because I've gone to multiple different dispensaries and bought pre-rolls, and in situations where like, you know, sometimes it's cheaper to get a pre-roll than it is to get an actual gram. So sometimes you just get it and rip it open and fucking smoke some bowls out of it.
I do that all the time too.
Yeah, and there's been some solid weed in most of the pre-rolls I get.
See, that's my experience out here too. But of course, we're in a different weed economy. He's out in Cali. We're here in Nevada. But I have most of the weed because I do the same thing. I'll rip them up and then I'll use my little glass one hitter on them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just something I wonder about sometimes when I get some really harsh pre-rolls, which isn't too often. But anyways, that's my aside on this weed. But back to Gastelum and Izzy. 2-2, we both agreed going into the fifth, and then Adesanya just showed that championship medal. Really.
Yeah, for real.
And
he became a star last night.
Yeah,
he became a star last night.
And Gastelum did way better than I thought he would do.
100%. He has nothing to be ashamed of at all.
I mean, not that I expected him to do bad, but I mean, he stood toe to toe with an elite striker and just traded blows.
Here's my thing with Adesanya, though. I think that he used his striking. I think earlier in the rounds, I think his game plan was to let Kelvin kind of walk him down. I don't think taking the shots obviously was not in his plans.
Yeah, I think it was a little
but
surprised
I'm saying
when he got knocked down.
I think he kind of like was circling, kind of backing up the whole first round. Kind of not only because you know Adesanya is the type of guy who sets a lot of traps. So
he does, and he's slow in the first usually.
Well, exactly, always. But I think he kind of let Gastelum. Not let him hit him, but I'm saying let him control and push the pace of the fight in the first round. And then, no, I'm good on that.
That's a little hard.
So I think he like let him push the pace in the first few rounds so he would shy away from grappling early. Because I think if in Kelvin Gastelum's mind, I think he thought that Adesanya was going to come out and push forward like he was going to push forward. And he was going to be able to use his takedowns and other shit like that. But I think luring him into this idea that, oh, look how great I'm doing on the feet. There's no reason to go to the ground. I can do this on the feet. Which, don't get me wrong, he could have. In the fourth, he could have put him out. That was a real close one. But
it was a close fight.
But you see what I'm saying, though? Because then when it came to the grappling, it was either one, when Kelvin was out of position, or two, when Adesanya was ready for him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Kelvin really never gotten any setup shots. All his shots he got in on were diving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, diving from a little too far out.
Or
recovering from
going in with his head down.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think taking away the grappling from Kelvin and making it a stand-up war made it a lot easier for in round 5 Adesanya to take over, because let's all be honest, in the first 2-3 rounds, Kelvin blew his gas tank. I don't think he was ready for a fight. Obviously, he was ready for a 5-round fight because of how much action there was in that fight. He wasn't ready for a 5-round fight, you know?
I would disagree a little bit that he blew his gas tank. He was winded, but he wasn't like Conor McGregor blew his gas tank.
Round 5, he was gone. Round 5, he had zero energy. Round 5, he came out with his hands down, got knocked down in the first minute.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And then stood up, zombie, kept throwing, and then gets dropped again. And then Adesanya gets tired from not being able to finish him both times he drops him. So then they get late into the fight, and then he gets almost finished. So his gas tank was gone.
Well, I guess with that
after
recap,
the fourth.
I'd have to agree.
Well, and I think a lot of it has to do with him rocking Adesanya at the end of the fourth, and Adesanya bouncing off the cage and running like not running, but you know how that like wobble when you're fucking rocked, that you're just like legs are noodles, and that's just what he was at when he got kicked in the head like that, and he was just kind of backing away, and Kelvin kind of had to run after him. Yeah. So when he ran after him and was trying to throw, he kind of that little bit that he was saving, and maybe could have got a little bit more if he sat on the stool and like got his wits back more. If that round would have ended with just him hitting him with that head kick, like knocking him down or something, and if he just stood there, I think that would have been a lot less on him physically. But kicking him in the head and then having to chase him down to try to finish him, I think just pushed him over that edge. And then in that round 5, as soon as the pace got picked up, he just couldn't handle the pace.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Well, what happens next in this division is pretty clear. We're gonna get
Rob
Whittaker versus Isarel Adesanya for the
That's
unification.
Gonna be sick as fuck, man.
And they're talking about soccer stadium for
in September.
In September, in New Zealand, I presume.
No, in Australia.
Right
in Australia, but Adesanya says he would like to be in New Zealand, and technically, although he reps hard for the Australian people, Robert Whittaker is from New Zealand as well.
Right, that's what I was thinking as well. That's going to be a great fight.
It's going to be a great one.
This far out, I like Adesanya. I think you probably do as well.
My biggest question always with Robert Whittaker is how he is going to be physically when he steps in the octagon. Mm-hmm. Because obviously it's not going to, and I'm not talking about the hernia. I'm talking about everything else in his body. Because we're talking about going into multiple fights with injuries and then also like getting hurt bad before fights. So it's like where he's at physically, I think will dictate how that fight goes.
He's had a lot of time off over the past 3 years due to injury.
Yeah. I mean, sucks because he's the best fighter in the world right now. And we just don't get as much of a chance to see it. You know what I'm saying? Technically, he's never defended his title, if you think about it.
Yeah, because Yoel, that wasn't a title fight.
Yeah, it wasn't a title fight. So technically, he has never. I mean, I'm not holding that against him. I understand that he fought Yoel, and I'm not saying he needs to be stripped or anything. I'm just saying technically, he's never defended his title.
But the interim title for here was certainly warranted with his injury.
Yeah.
And we got a clear pathway as to what's happening next in that division. And it's going to be a monster fight, so that's fucking cool.
To think what Adesanya has done in the short amount of time that he's been in the UFC is fucking legendary.
Like 15 months now, I think.
Legendary shit,
15 months, 5 fights, title.
He's only, what, 28, 27, 28?
Something like that. I mean, he did have a long, decorated kickboxing career, but he's
meteoric rise. What a tough mofo, man.
Yes.
And he's so good on the mic, too, that just makes him better. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's not like, some people are cocky. He's confident. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll a lot of times give his opponent like a little bit of respect, but at the end of the day, he's in there to do his job, and he's going to get the job done. Even when you looked at the, although he's very like gracious and everything with Anderson, he kind of had to talk a little bit of shit to get there. You know what I'm saying? And so I think he's able to play that bad guy role, given, he
knows his way around the microphone.
He's able, he's going to be able. I think with this Whittaker fight, just because Whittaker is like just a straight up dude, I think he's not going to talk shit but be confident. But I think Adesanya is going to try to get under his skin a little bit and try to talk some shit.
I would say if Adesanya is smart, since Whittaker is a little on the more bland side when it comes to media.
He is, but he isn't.
He should jump
That's
all
the thing.
over this.
That's the thing. It's like it's not that he's bland. It's just that he doesn't care to really sell. He sees his work in the octagon and selling, and I understand that. A lot of people are like that, and that's fine.
That's fine. I'm not knocking it either.
Yeah, but it's just
what it is. Like,
it gives you a little bit more.
Doesn't say shit on the mic either, but he's fucking awesome. So
Yeah.
But my point being, I think Adesanya would be wise to ramp up the media a bit going into a fight like this, he could really, really, really fucking
Oh yeah,
hit.
it's gonna be huge.
Maybe
over
not
there.
Conor levels, but he could hit the Australian Conor level, the New
Yeah,
Zealand,
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah, for
Nigerian,
sure.
all these areas that he can represent. He could blow the fuck up over there
Oh yeah,
pretty big.
shit's gonna be crazy.
Turn into a pretty legit star if he plays that shit right. So that's pretty cool.
Think about it. 2 months ago, there was 0 Nigerian champions in the UFC.
Yeah,
now
now
there's
we
been
got
2 inside 2 events. That's
Yep.
crazy, man.
And we got a resurging Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, 2. That'd be sick. That's what's crazy is all of them like have gone on the mic and been like, dude, you guys don't even know. Like, we're all like just regular motherfuckers over there. Like, you guys need to go start recruiting people, which I'm all for, man. The more fighters we can get in the UFC and the more talent we can get in the UFC, the less watered down a lot of these cards will be. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, it's just not going to get to that level just based on the company and their salaries and all that shit. Like, we'll probably never get to a level where we can bring in everyone, all the best, the best, the best, the best.
I mean, look at like.
But all I'm saying is they just need to tap every market possible. Like they were talking about last night, I was listening to Dana White. He said in the next 2 months he's talking about all this. Like in the next 2 months he's gonna unveil like the future of the UFC basically in the next 2 months, which is super cool news. And also, I mean, I hate to go on this like weird side note, but also he's talking about that they're opening a PI in Mexico and Puerto Rico and China in the next 2 years. And then you got guys like Kelvin Gatelum and guys like Yair Rodriguez are fighting on these main cards and main events. Do you realize what they're like doing now? Now they're pushing a culture in a place that has a different culture. You know what I mean? Boxing is huge in Mexico. MMA is cool and all, and it's just so new. Now, if you go in there and you implant a place where these kids have Mexican fighters to look up to, you're gonna have a huge change in the culture as far as kids and everything like that, and getting people into MMA. So like, I know it's not an MMA versus boxing thing, but they're going into major boxing parts of the world and putting like mixed martial arts ideas into these kids' heads, and it's gonna change. It's gonna make these fighters evolve more and more and more. Like everyone talks about like it. I mean, it was Ireland when Conor was coming up. It's been Khabib with like since he comes up, a lot of big Russian fighters and Zabit, and you know what I mean, and like and Darren Till and all these different markets that the UFC goes and puts a bunch of events on, and they tap that market, and then you see these big fighters come out of there. So what they're doing now is they're kind of looking at a global spectrum and bringing in all the fucking best fighters in the world. Really, when you think about it, they're cementing themselves as the number one organization. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's a better approach than their prior one, because I mean Dana's been talking about making MMA global forever, and they've tried it. Like, I mean, they did Tough China. Yeah. There's a reason they didn't do a second season, because like nobody in China can fucking fight. I mean, they barely had enough contestants for that show. Yeah, but I mean that is disrespectful to them. They can fight in their respective arts, but not in MMA. Like they had a hard time filling
that's what the Performance Institute
show
does, though.
Like they couldn't even sign half the people that came out of there. So the Performance Institute is definitely going to help.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. That's what the Performance Institute will do, is you take those guys who are high-level fighters in those communities who are at the top of the ranks that aren't quite there, and then you go and then you have them training with the guys that are best in the world, and they get built up to this level, and then you pretty much get developed by the UFC and then brought in when you're good enough, is what I'm basically saying.
I like the idea. I don't know. I don't have any faith that the UFC can pull that off anymore, but we'll see. It's a noble effort, and I'm all for it. Let's hope it works.
I hope it works, because I mean, dude, it's coming down now.
But I don't even know if I want guys in the UFC, honestly, because like I prefer them to go to other organizations first instead of come up small and go to the UFC where they're not going to make enough money. Now they're losing pay-per-view points.
Yeah, but I
And they're
think
never going to unionize when you've got guys like Alan Duplain. Did you hear his comments about how he thinks that the move to ESPN Plus is actually better for fighters, despite losing pay-per-view points, because he thinks that because the UFC is going to make more money, and hopefully, he said, some of that will make its way back down to us in a kickback.
yeah.
Boy, I
Well,
hope so. I mean, we'd all like to see that, but if that's your attitude, you're doomed, my friend.
I think what
Fucking
needs to
doomed.
happen in MMA, and I think now people need to fight for a purse rather than like, show and win, like just a single purse per fight. I think that's just what.
Yeah, no more
should
show
be.
and win money.
Yeah.
Hey, but the UFC loves that because they get half. They can pay less to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all on these supposed managers and other things. And I guess my point with what you're saying is I used to be all like really wanting the UFC to succeed. Only now in the past few years, I find myself not so much, because it's not that I don't want there to be opportunity for the fighters. It's just that I want them. Like, I would almost rather see fighters go to Bellator where they can have some fucking sponsors. They can fucking go do other things.
Well,
or,
that's true, but
you know,
what I'm saying though is, and they can still do that. That's the thing, that those kids can still do that. What I'm saying is they're pushing the culture of actual mixed martial arts forward.
and that's
with
a good
what
thing.
they're doing.
You're right. I'm not denying it, and I hope
You know what I'm
I
saying?
hope that
Because
it plays
all
out
those
that
same
way. I
kids
do.
that they can look at those and look at those organizations where they can win money and shit like PFL and shit like that. And yeah, they can definitely go there. But what I'm saying is their talent needs to be cultivated at a place like the PI. There's tons of guys from all over gyms, all over Vegas and shit like that are good fighters that maybe aren't in the UFC but are on their way, that train there all the time. They get invited
that's
by
true.
fighters to train with them over there. And that, it's a trickle down effect, you know what I'm saying? For all the younger fighters to then maybe not end up in the UFC, but have the talent to be at the show when they're ready.
Yeah, and ultimately, you're right. That is good, and I'm for that as well. But circling back around, that brings us to Poirier Holloway, where things aren't quite as
Couple
clear.
other young guys who were in the UFC, hella young.
Yeah, a rematch from 2013, 2012.
Fucking long time ago. It
Holloway's
was a 13
first
fight
he came in
win
and
streak
lost.
until
Yeah.
this.
We saw the same results, though, ultimately with Poirier winning.
Much different fight, though.
Much different fight. I think size really mattered in this fight.
I do, too.
Poirier's power.
I think Poirier is filled out at 155 and has like.
He's a legit lightweight.
And I think
now,
Holloway is
where
still
Holloway was
flipping back and forth,
a
so he wasn't ready.
featherweight.
Yeah. Because I think if Holloway were to go 55, he'd be walking around like 175, probably.
Yeah, well, look at the two of them. Do you think that from their current exact size as they were last night, do you think Poirier could possibly make featherweight in
Nah, not anytime
3
soon.
weeks, cut weight, and take a
Yeah,
featherweight fight
no way.
on the spur of the notice? Fuck
No.
no, not happening, dude.
Yeah, no way.
That dude could fill in at welterweight.
Yeah.
So that's more likely if he had to fill in a different weight class.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Max is going to go right back down to featherweight. Great fight. Max did well.
Yeah.
But he got kind of battered.
Yeah,
I
he
think it
did.
was the right decision. I don't think it was close. And I think it was the best thing that could happen. Not that I want to see Max lose, but I don't want another interim champ, real champ bullshit.
You know what it comes down to is Max is a pace and volume fighter. And when you interrupt the pace and you interrupt the volume, it's, you know what I'm saying? His fighting style is all fire back and,
Yeah, and volume.
walk you down with 4 fucking jabs if you have to. You know what I'm saying?
And he's used to having a size advantage at featherweight
Yeah.
where he has a little bit more power on these somewhat smaller guys, whereas Poirier was taking those tough punches from Holloway, but Poirier was just eating them, not really much of an issue. Whereas you could tell Holloway was getting rocked.
Yeah, he was getting rocked. Like, there was a couple
A,
times
man.
where I thought it was going to get stopped.
Yeah.
He is fucked up. But he's got fucking chin on him, bro.
Boy, doesn't he, though?
He's
got
a
a
beast.
chin and a ton of heart.
Oh, my God. No one can question Holloway's game.
No, not at all.
I think it all was a
He
matter.
didn't lose any shine
Yeah, no
losing
way.
that fight.
And I think he could still fight at 45, maybe 2 or 3 more fights and still make his way up to 55. I just think he needs to do it the right way.
Yeah, he needs to put on real weight Like,
Yeah.
he needs to be much larger muscle.
And it might be tough for him because
like
he
Poirier
is generally like a more slender dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's a skinny fucker. I mean, he's
Yeah.
5'11". I mean, he was taller than Dustin, for God's
Yeah.
sake, but Dustin was much larger.
Yeah. And man, this is fucking fighting, man. He doesn't lose any shine for multiple reasons, dude.
No, I mean, he jumped up a weight class. He
Yeah.
did quite well in the fight. It was a thrilling, excellent fight. I mean, if
Yeah.
it hadn't been for the
co-main,
co-main
been
before
fucking,
it, everybody would not be able to stop talking about how great their fight was.
Exactly.
On any other night, that would have been the fucking show stealer.
Yeah,
But,
100%.
you know, as for what's next for Holloway, well, it's pretty clear. He's going to go back and defend his title. He's a featherweight.
I think the
Life goes
winner
on.
of
But-
Volkanovski, Aldo probably fights him.
Yeah.
You
I
think
just
they
said
give
that
Aldo
too.
a third
Oh
shot?
Jesus Christ! Let's hope not. I think who else is coming up in that division? Because if they don't want Aldo to win that, I guarantee you.
You get Ortega again.
That'd be better.
I just don't think it's time yet.
No, it's way too soon. It's way too soon.
But with the beating Max took last night, who knows when he's going to be ready again?
Yeah, there's that too. He took a lot of shots.
A lot of shots. Yeah, Dana didn't even let him go to the post-fight presser. He said, "No, you need to go to the
Right to
hospital
the
immediately."
hospital, huh? Dude,
Because I
put so
guess
much
Max
keef in
wanted
this
to.
bowl. There's like 3 layers thick of keef in this bowl.
Oh yeah,
We were smoking.
Max is a beast though, man.
No, he's fine.
He's
Next for
still in
him
the
is
mix.
his career's fine. No one's
Yeah.
he didn't lose any shine. I don't
Yeah.
think there's any adversity or adverse effects from that.
I think
However,
Dustin
for
Poirier fucking put his name on the map last night.
well, Dustin, that's just what he needed. Came along at the right time. That kid earned it. I remember watching him on that.
What's crazy though is he's had like 3 straight fights like this, and he's not gotten the shine that he did like he did last night.
Well, saying I remember watching that kid when he was on that MTV show back in the day.
What, Bully Beatdown?
No, he was on a documentary. This
Oh no, that was Anthony Pettis.
no, they did one. Poirier was in too. I know
Really?
the Pettis one. Or was it a Fightland documentary?
I don't know.
I seen him before he was pro.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
Pettis. They had him on there before
I
he was
know
pro.
what you're talking about. It's like a Cage Ridge like kind of thing where it was like on his back.
Yeah, it was
door
way
almost.
before he was in the
Yeah.
UFC. All that shit. It was just a fighter they were following. He was in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Fucking. He was with his old camp before he left.
Yeah.
Fucking yeah.
He's a tough mofo, dude.
He's a tough motherfucker, man. So good on him.
He's still got a pea head though. I'm just kidding.
I, for one, do not believe anything that Joe Rogan and crew were selling. I think they were told to sell that after the
What?
fight, and of course that's what
That
Dana's going
Max
to
one?
say. No, that we're going to see Khabib versus
Dustin, you don't
Dustin
think it's
in
gonna happen?
September. Not in September. I don't think. I think I think it was likely to be November, and there's likely to be a defense of the interim title before then. That's what I think.
I don't think so. After that fight, I don't think Poirier will be ready to fight again and then fight in
7
November again.
months?
I don't think so.
I don't
Poirier-
think, I don't
Poirier
think
is
Khabib's going to come back as soon as
Poirier is a
everybody thinks.
2 fight a year kind of fighter.
Nah, he just fought.
Yeah, a while ago. He's held
Poirier
it out,
fights more than 2.
dude. Remember
he's
he
way
backed
more
out of the
than 2
Nate
years
Diaz
fight.
fight too. So that was, dude. He probably hasn't fought a year and a half since that last fight.
Yeah, while he's
When he beat
where
Eddie
he's at
Alvarez.
right here in his career, if you look over the course of his career, he's much more than a 2-a-year fighter.
I don't know, man. He likes to fight like twice, maybe 3 times a year. His whole fight career. He's
So
always
you
fought
think he's
twice,
not
3
going to
times.
fight again till November, and he's going to
He's
wait
gonna fight
until Khabib?
Yeah, why
You-
not? I would.
And you don't think if they said, "Hey, you want to have an interim title defense against Conor in the meantime," he would not do that?
Nah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get paid.
Sure,
You're
but
right.
I could
Let's
see if
fuck
it's like
the biggest
a huge,
payday opportunity that he could have.
I think it's a much bigger fight
And
if
a
it.
win he could get back.
Yeah, but
on a loss.
Think about this. It's a much bigger fight if it's for the actual title.
I don't think Khabib's the draw everybody thinks he is.
No, not the Khabib fight. I'm saying beating Khabib and then
Oh, I don't
fighting
think he has
Conor.
a chance against Khabib.
You don't think so?
No, not
I
at
think
all. Khabib
Poirier's
will
got
maul
the
him.
perfect style to beat him.
No, I don't think his style's that much different than Conor's.
Dude,
So
you're
he's a better
crazy.
wrestler?
Much better wrestler, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. It's much different.
And so, how is that different than Ali Quinta's a good wrestler?
Ali Quinta is a good wrestler, but he's not a good grappler. The difference is Dustin Poirier is not a wrestler; he's a grappler. When you're a grappler,
thought he was a good
it's
wrestler.
much different. That's what I'm saying. Wrestling and grappling are two different things, but they go hand in hand.
Good. I don't think he's Khabib level good. I don't think he's shown anything in his career that would like. It's not like we're talking about like a Kevin Lee who's got like massive wrestling credentials.
He has very similar grappling style to
Or we're
Kevin
talking about
Lee.
a Ben Askren who's got massive wrestling credentials. We're talking
Sure,
about
but
Dustin Poirier, who's got
I don't think you
punching
need
credentials.
massive credentials to beat Khabib. I think you need just at least high level to control the position. Because the way Khabib beats people is not in just mauling them. He beats them in the small game point, like the small things that become big things, like positions, like catching wrists, shit like that. When you're going to try to do that to a high level Brazilian jiu-jitsu like black belt, they're not just going to give their wrists up. You're not going to hold their wrists. You're not going to get into those positions that under someone who's like Ali Quinta, who's a good wrestler, but he's not great at jiu-jitsu. Not saying he's
He
bad
trains
at
under Matt
jiu-jitsu.
Serra. Are you
Sure,
kidding
but
me?
it doesn't matter. You can be Matt Serra's student. It doesn't mean you're a great jiu-jitsu practitioner.
You think Tim Crater's jiu-jitsu and the
Dude,
the
he's
shit
not
down
a-
in
is he a
Louisiana
black
is better
belt?
than?
Dude, he got
Are
that
you- are
from
you
he got that
serious
he
right
didn't
now?
get that from these fucking guys. He got it from when he was at Coconut Creek.
He's only been at ATT like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
4 or
and he
5
got his
years.
black belt from them.
But that's not where he grew up doing his black. That's
doesn't
not
matter.
his base in jiu-jitsu.
It doesn't matter where your base is, where you evolve to.
You don't think
He's
Matt
evolved
Serra's
over
a
the
le-
last 4 years. I'm not saying Matt
I
Serra
would
is
say-
terrible.
when
What I'm
one
saying
fight-
is it hasn't
What
transferred over
jiu-jitsu
to
did
Ali
we
and
see?
Quinta.
What jiu-jitsu did he use against Gaethje? What jiu-jitsu did he use against
He didn't need to
Alvarez?
use it. He fucking knocked them both out. Why does it matter?
Alvarez.
I'm talking about earlier in his career. Throughout his career, he has used his jiu-jitsu to win, and you cannot deny that.
He's got a mean Darce choke he used back in the day, but I just don't see how that translates to fight handling with Khabib. I just don't see that at all.
I literally just told you it's the small positions. It's not getting your
I
wrist
know, and
caught.
I'm just saying
It's not
I
getting,
disagree.
not letting
I
him
think he will get
catch
his wrist
that
caught.
figure
I
four.
think he'll get taken down, and I think he'll get his legs trapped in between Khabib's,
I don't
and
think
then
so.
I think Khabib will lay on top of him and beat his face in, just like he does everybody else.
I don't think so at all.
Well, I guess we'll find out if it gets to that fight, but I do not see that as like being
So
competitive.
what are we gonna do here then? Who's gonna fight Khabib then?
Maybe Ben Askren would be a much better fight.
We're talking about at 155. 155. Who's fighting Khabib next? If Dustin Poirier is gonna fight Conor instead, who's gonna fight Khabib?
Well, then it would be obviously the winner of that because that would go in between.
I think that fight
there's
is a
another
much
7
more.
month
Is a,
break.
that's
We've
what I'm
got a
saying. I
7
think
month
there's
break here.
another. That fight is a much more violent fight than the first time, and I think that Dustin and Conor could possibly go 5 rounds if they fight again. If Conor comes and fights the way he's fought against Khabib, they will go 5 rounds, and Conor possibly could lose the decision.
Yeah, he fights 3 to 4 times a year. Yeah.
Does he?
I'm looking at
Whatever.
this stuff right here.
Doesn't matter the times he fights. I'm just saying he only fights a certain amount of times a year. is
In
basically what I'm
2018, he only fought twice, but in 2017, he fought 3 times. 2016.
Yeah, but if you heard him in
2015,
interviews
3
recently, he's
times.
talking about how now that he's gotten older and he has kids now, he trains away from his family and he likes to be with his family more than less.
Look, we
you know
can keep
what I'm
going back and forth. Your point is you think he beats Khabib. I don't think he does.
saying? Well, no, it's
I
not
think
what
there'll be a fight
I
in
don't think
between.
it matters whether he beats Khabib or not. Basically, what I'm saying is I think the matchup is much better than if he were to fight Conor. Conor beats him in a rematch with Khabib. I think it's a much better matchup, him versus Khabib, than Conor versus Khabib a second time. Plain and simple. That's
Do you
just how I
believe
feel.
Connor's new broken foot story?
I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter if your foot's broken or not. He just fucking got your. You literally there was nothing in the fight where your foot possibly being broken would have been a huge like letdown because he
it's
was
his
on
movement.
him
It's
constantly
totally.
though.
But
You know what I'm saying?
He
Like
chose
there
to
was
march
never.
forward.
He chose to march forward. Yeah, if your foot's broken, fucking then sit back and pick your angles, but don't march forward and then when you get your ass
Do you think he's
beat,
bullshitting?
be like, I don't give a fuck if it's bullshit or not. Is my point. Like I don't really care if it's bullshit or
Well,
not.
we're
He
in
still gets
agreement
ass
that Conor doesn't beat Khabib either. I just don't think either one of them do. I don't think an overall strikers are going to win that fight. I think the best chances to beat Khabib would have been GSP, Ben Askren, maybe someone like a Kevin Lee if his game was really on point.
I think Dustin could do it.
All right, well, we'll find out, hopefully.
And I think Tony Ferguson probably could too.
That'd be an interesting fight.
Unfortunately, we don't really know what's going on with Tony Ferguson as of right now.
Well, he got cleared by the doctors, so that's
No. I'm talking about in his personal life that is going to stop him from fighting, possibly.
Yeah, I'm saying he got cleared by the head doctors.
Oh, like
Yeah, like
sanity
all of his
wise.
personal trauma that he's been going through. He says he went to the doctors and that they have cleared him to resume training, and he's good to go. So now I don't know how legit that is, but he's like putting that out there publicly. He's looking for a fight. He's back in training, and doctors say he's A-okay. Which it's like, alrighty.
Cool.
Oh no.
Well, good for him.
I'm
either
glad
way.
they cured your son is Jesus and the aliens are in the walls and everything that quickly.
What? Is that what he said?
Oh yeah.
I didn't read everything. I didn't want to. I was like, I don't know, man.
That's why my theory, which I'm not going to get into on air, which I told you via
Yeah.
text, I was like, man, it's got to be because that's crazy shit to be
Yeah.
saying. And that
For
was
real,
just
for
like a
real.
taste. Well, either way, I guess that's the lightweight title picture. Connor's foot for me.
I don't care. I don't care either way.
I think it makes a big difference when you look at the movement that he was making in that fight. And I don't mean his marching forward. I just mean his angles and his normal method. Like, he didn't fight like his normal self, like, at all. That's
Here's why I
I'm
don't think
agreeing
it
with that.
matters, though, is like the grappling was such a big part of it that whether his foot was broken or not, he was getting ran down, basically. Like, when people, like, talk about that Khabib mauls people like a bear, he kind of mauled him like a bear. He just relentlessly tried to take him down until Conor could no longer defend it. And
Well,
then,
actually, Connor kept marching forward into him. And
you know what I'm saying, though?
swinging
Like, well, I
punches
mean, at
and
least in
then
the first
getting
round. Remember, in the first round, Conor had some solid takedown defense, but Khabib just didn't stop trying to take him down the whole
yeah,
round.
that's what he does.
And
do it
that's
to
why I
Poirier,
don't
too.
think he would. And that's why I don't think he would beat Poirier, because I feel like
He's way bigger than Poirier, too.
is he? I'd have to see him like actually like face to face.
Yeah.
I'd have to see it. Because like we were talking about before, Dustin's definitely filled out.
Dude, don't misunderstand. I like Dustin. Like, who do I want to win that fight? I want Dustin to win. I want Dustin to go in there and knock Khabib's fucking clean out.
I think Dustin's fucking marketable too.
But I don't believe that happens. Like, so don't misunderstand. I'm a fan. I want Dustin to win. I want, please, for the love of God, go in there and knock Khabib out. But like, we're looking and putting fandom away. Yeah, good luck with that.
I think that puts Conor back into the mix more than it would. I think Dustin Poirier beating Khabib would put Conor more into the mix than him rematching Dustin Poirier and then
Dude,
rematching
you know how
Khabib.
far out there we're talking about.
Well, no,
if it played
we
out
just
that
play
way,
it,
that's
no.
a year and a half before we
Well,
see
no,
Conor again.
here's the thing. If we're talking a situation where they fight in September, then
So you think
Let's
Khabib,
say-
who's all about his honor and his word,
No,
what he
that's
talks
not
about
what
all
I'm
the
saying.
time,
That's not what I'm
You
saying.
really think he's going to go back on what he said and fight
listen to
in
what I'm
September?
saying. No, yeah, that's cool. I don't care really when they fight. I'm just saying best case scenario. So they fight in September. Dustin beats Khabib.
Uh-huh.
And then Khabib, cries for a rematch and everything. Like everyone, not cries for it, but obviously asks for a rematch, all that shit. And then if you're Dustin Poirier, and then you have Conor still yapping, and then you think that he's been off for this long, and then maybe that fight, maybe he beats Khabib by decision, and it's not like that interesting, but it's like a lot of grappling situations, a lot of defense, and doesn't come out too badly beat up. Turns it around either December, January to either end the year or start the year first card, and you do Dustin versus Conor in a rematch. And that's not too much time for anybody to be away, and it would just a few
There's
things
a
would
lot
have to
to
happen.
play out right. Like Khabib not getting his rematch.
I don't think he
Dustin
would get a
actually
rematch.
winning.
I don't think Dustin would
Connor
get. Here's the
agreeing
thing.
to not fight
I-
and then take a fight.
Well, that just
far
puts
down the
Conor
line.
back into a main event, and I think that's what Conor needs is a main event. Is what I'm saying.
Connor's not going to probably settle for much less than a title shot.
That's what I'm saying.
Which he
and I
gets
think
with
he
an
has a much
interim
better
up
chance of getting a
against
title shot
Poirier.
against Dustin Poirier than he does against Khabib.
That's my exact argument for the interim title shot. Right
But I think
now.
it's a bigger fight if it's for the
It's a
unified title.
It's a path. Well, sure it is, but most people are going to be like, Conor needs to win a fight because he got his ass kicked by Khabib so bad. Instead of just go back
Fight
and
one
fight
of these
Khabib again.
motherfuckers underneath. Fight fucking Justin Gaethje or something like that.
Justin Gaethje's booked up.
With who?
He wouldn't say he's anywhere.
He said he's down to fight Conor in Ireland.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
If they could do that in Ireland at Croke Park, they would have already.
Or maybe like a fight night where
There's
they just
curfew
fucking...
issues and shit out there.
Oh, is that what the whole thing is?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because they can't air it on pay-per-view.
Why?
Because they can't run it late at night. Like, they need to run them late at night, and there's issues with the stadium and curfew issues.
That's strange. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's something to do with the timing of it in the park. It's like they can't run it at night.
Yeah. Would have to be during the day. That'd be intense.
Which would be some crazy time here, which kills the pay-per-view, which is the whole point of Conor. But that might be different now with this whole ESPN deal.
Yeah, who knows?
Who fucking knows? But anyways, so you think that it goes to Khabib. I think there's going to be a defense in between. I see that as Conor's way back in. Not that I'm advocating that's what should happen. I'm just saying that's what I think happens, is that Dustin's going to defend against Conor. The interim winner will go to Khabib.
I don't know.
But
I'm just not for the defense of interim titles. I'm okay with interim titles, just don't defend them. You need to fucking fight the champion.
It won't be the first time.
Of course not, but you know what I'm saying? All right, well, I think that
Probably wraps up the event from last night. Although I do want to say Khalil Roundtree's fight was pretty awesome.
he was
Khalil Roundtree
savage,
versus
bro.
Eric Anders
8
at 205.
knockdowns.
Khalil, who was a Vegas resident, and to the best of my understanding, he has completely moved to Thailand.
yeah, he was living in San Diego for a minute
And
before that too.
Man, he is showing off that Muay Thai skills.
Oh, I know.
I mean, his whole game was, you could tell
And you know what?
immediately.
I feel like
improvement.
I think he took a little bit too much, like people stopped watching him after he got knocked out by Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
But I feel like it wasn't really a detriment to his actual abilities. I think
Walker's
he
was
kind of got caught, first of all. And he's still evolving. He is like still so young in the game that like he could be one of those guys who catches his kind of like a Lionheart, where he's gonna fight probably a lot in the next.
Yeah, his game evolves.
5
he grows.
years, you know. Yeah.
He's a bigger dude, so he can have a bit. I mean, he's not a heavyweight, but he's up there at 205, which they can kind of extend their careers a little bit longer
Yeah,
than the
100%.
shorter guys or smaller guys can. I mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, I agree.
He's a tough mofo.
He is. I mean, and the way
Eric Anders is too, man.
yeah, like Eric Anders is no joke. Like,
I'm surprised
and
Eric
like-
Anders went back to 205.
like you could tell within 2 minutes of that first round, Anders' leg was just getting destroyed with those leg kicks from Roundtree. Like it was
You know
a
what?
sight.
You know what I like about Roundtree is he's got a like very athletic build,
Yeah.
and he uses it to his advantage. So like when he does those leg kicks and he does the head kicks and everything like that, he puts his hips and everything like into it. That hits like
he's
thunderous
getting that.
every time
Yeah,
he hits you.
he's getting those
Remember him on the
pivots,
Ultimate
yeah.
Fighter when he fought into the house and he knocked the dude down.
Oh, yeah.
And then stood above him and started soccer kicking him in the body, dude.
Yeah, man. His
That
shit
was
was so
sick.
vicious. That's when I became a fan. I was like,
Oh,
"Damn,
yeah.
this fucking kid."
Yeah, he's tough.
Fucking
He's a tough mofo,
man.
man.
And it seems like, and I hate to dog him all the time, but like Uriah Hall, like he was such a sensation on the Ultimate Fighter too. But then like he just has the mental. He couldn't get the mental game on, and didn't want to
Yeah.
seem to take it to the next level. Where I think Roundtree,
He's
getting smoked and
Yeah.
then being like, okay, I'm going to change some.
well. He's
shit
had
up
some
here
tough.
and
He's
move
had
into
some
fucking
tough
Thailand.
nights in his first few fights.
Yeah, he hasn't been the world beater from the get go.
Yeah.
But he's growing, and then, dude, making big moves like that and like admitting that you need to learn.
Yeah.
That's good. When fighters do that and then experience success.
Exactly. Yeah.
He could.
He's got the
he
formula
could keep
working.
providing us some entertaining fights for a
100%.
minute. So that's the only other fight I really wanted to touch on because kudos to the former Vegas resident. Though.
Yeah, 100%.
Hope he keeps it up, man.
Keep it up, bro.
We might have another contender at 205, which would be cool.
Definitely.
So man, we got a couple weeks here. Next week's card is kind of bleh. The main event's all right.
Yeah.
It's sort of weird. It's coming from
It's
St. Petersburg, Russia.
Yeah, well, and
We're gonna get the daytime out
it's
here.
a fill-in too, because originally
Yeah.
it was Overeem and who was he fighting before? I can't remember, but now he's
Well, now
fighting
it's-
he's fighting Alexander Volkov.
Yeah, Volkov.
That would have
yeah.
been huge for him. And, I mean, well, I feel like they just took one Russian and inserted another. Yeah,
But this one, Olenek, he could easily submit.
it could fuck Overeem's night up,
He
man.
could easily fuck
Might
over him.
fucking
Like that dude's
necktie him,
severely underrated.
Dude, he's fucking
Like-
sick. That Ezekiel choke that he does, man.
I think
is-
he's the sleeper of the heavyweights. Like
Oh,
he
dude.
is severely underrated, and he
Super.
might not be after
He's probably
next
fought.
week.
He's won what, like 4 or 5, maybe. Yeah, like 5
in
in,
the
a row.
UFC.
In a
Yeah,
row.
yeah, and his record is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got like 50 fights. And
I've
lost, like,
seen
6.
some fights where he's getting fucked up too, and then he's just like, fuck it, just
Right, and then it's
Like-
unbelievable with that Ezekiel choke.
It's ridiculous.
So I think he's going to choke out Overeem.
I do too.
So,
I do too.
and I think he's going to start making some noise in that division
Yeah.
afterwards. Mm-hmm. And the rest of that card, it is what it is. 10 in the morning, I think, is when it shows here
Yeah,
in
fuck
Vegas.
that.
So that'll be good for me at least. But the week after that, the following week, the last week of April, we've got a fight I like a lot, the main event. Rage and Ally Aquinta, we were talking about earlier, versus Donald Cerrone. That's a fucking killer fight right there.
Yeah.
Back down to lightweight. Like back at lightweight for Cerrone. Iaquinta. That's going to be a war.
All right, Quinta
right
coming
there.
off that fucking great performance against Kevin Lee.
Yeah. Man, I don't even know who I like in that fight.
I'll take Al.
I think Al's going to do it too.
Same old Al.
I like them both, man. They're both a couple of my favorite fucking fighters. But I think Rage and Al's going to.
He's gonna rage up.
He's going to rage up. Take it to Cerrone. Should be a great fucking fight,
Dude, he's
though.
broken like 3 computers on Ariel's show.
Oh, how's this bong hitting?
It's nice.
All right, word. On that card with Cerrone, also we got Cub Swanson finally coming back.
Yeah.
He's fighting Shane Burgos. Can't remember. I know he's 11-1 though. He's 1-1 in his last 2 fights.
Yeah.
But he did just beat, I think it was Kurt Hollenbach
Yeah.
in a good fight. But I think that's kind of I'd like to see Cub.
Yeah.
Cub make a
Get back
statement
on
here, get back on track.
Hopefully.
Fighting a decent guy. I mean, 11-1's a great record. Shane fights for Tiger Schulman's camp, which is a good camp. It's legit. But I'd like to see Cub get the win there.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And there wasn't a whole slew of announced fights this week, so we don't have a lot more than those 2 to really talk about. But we did get an announcement here this past weekend after the UFC event of a fight being off.
Yeah.
Like Dana White now saying that Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Cormier is not happening, and it looks like it's going to be Stipe versus DC. DC. That was a good one. Stipe versus DC. That verbal flub brought to you by marijuana.
DC.
But if you listen to this show, you know that makes me happy because I've been calling for that rematch.
Yeah. for a
Second,
minute.
probably only to Stipe himself. And that would be good for DC to go ahead and give him that rematch.
Sure it is.
I'm not a fan of the Brock fight to begin with. I would like to see Brock in the UFC just fight a fucking contender.
Yeah.
For real. Okay.
Sure.
Sure. Go fight like
Sure.
a Ben Rothwell. There you go.
Why? That'd be a waste of time.
Maybe Curtis Blades.
Waste of time.
Why? Oh, you think he should just fight for titles? I think he should have a win. It's been, what, 9 years since he had a win in the UFC. I think he should just earn one, a small one against, a middling heavyweight. Let's see if you can do it, Brock.
Waste of time.
You think?
Why waste your time? You're 36 years old, whatever, 40, whatever he is. You gotta fucking fight for the title, or don't fight at all.
Okay, then don't fight at all.
Exactly.
He's not going to make a comeback. Was he going to not defend the title? Let's say he won it. He's just going to.
Mark Hunt.
Yeah, he beat Mark Hunt, but it doesn't count.
Bro.
Mark Hunt, known for his wrestling capabilities.
Fought for the interim title once.
He did.
So Brock deserves a title shot.
Didn't that lawyer throw out?
Totally joking.
Did that judge throw out Mark Hunt's lawsuit against?
Yeah, dude. He's like, fuck you, dude. You got your ass beat. Get out of my courtroom.
I was like, yeah, you said beforehand he was on steroids.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care if you're juiced up. I'm going to still knock your ass out.
That's why I didn't have sympathy for him. Like, if you hadn't said all that shit, then you shouldn't afterwards complain about the steroids, man. So we're going to get Stipe Dise. Why do I keep wanting to say that? That's crazy, dude. Stipe Dise. Because I dislike Daniel Cormier so much I can't even say DC anymore. Dude, how annoying was he this weekend in the broadcast? I couldn't fucking take it.
Oh. Dude, you hate him so much.
Dude, it's not just me. I was getting texts from my boys in Colorado, too. Like, this motherfucker. I know. His commentary is the worst. The worst.
I don't know. It's not that bad. I like it a little bit.
He is worse than all of the team on Bellator, without a doubt.
Well, Bellator's got a fucking all-star fucking setup, bro. They got Frank Mir. They got fucking... They got all those motherfuckers. They got what's his name? Jay Glazer. They fuck?
Run circles around DC. I can't say it, see?
Oh, I'm proud of you. I like Bisping. He's good.
Bisping is good, but
I like Dan Hardy. Dan Hardy's good.
I don't like Dan Hardy.
You like Dan Hardy?
I used to.
I don't like the dude that he announces with.
The last two events that they did, they were so pro the fucking European fighters.
See,
it was absurd. You have to maintain some semblance of fucking evenness in your commentary.
I like Dan Hardy. I just don't like the guy that he does it with. The play-by-play guy. What's his name? I don't know. I don't like him, but I like Dan Hardy. I like Paul Felder.
I could go back to him.
Paul Felder's good.
If he gets his shit back together. Felder's all right.
But you like Felder?
Well, he's all right. They're all better than DC.
I like
every single one of these people.
Cruz is good. Cruz gets a little biased sometimes.
Again, all better than DC. So we've established that all of the other UFC commentators, plus all of the Bellator commentators, are better than DC.
I like Jimmy Smith too.
Jimmy Smith is definitely better, and he's in Invicta. So now we're down to the Invicta.
He's Invicta now,
dude. He got so fucked by the UFC, man. So fucked. You know, he wanted to sign a longer deal, and they were like, "Oh, just sign a year deal, and then we'll take care of you." And he was like, "Okay."
Well, I mean,
you have to do what you got to do, but
they were in the middle of getting all these deals and sale and shit like that.
Now they're like, now that we're at ESPN, bye-bye.
It's tough. Whatever.
We're going to go with fighters. I don't like active fighters in commentary roles, though.
Active, I don't mind it. Paul Felder's not bad.
I didn't really like the Felder-Gaethje interaction. I don't think that...
What happened?
Well, when he's calling, he was like saying he wanted to fight him after he was interviewing him in the ring. I just don't think it's not the time for that type of thing. Like, you can't use your commentary job to try and land your fights. And I get why that you would, and it's not Felder's fault for trying to fucking land a big fight while you're on camera. And I think it's why you shouldn't do that with active fighters and have them go in there and interview someone in their fucking division. Or like when DC went out and he had to interview, who was it? He had to interview somebody that was right in his fucking division. I can't remember. I mean, it'd be like having John Jones come out and interview Johnny Walker. If John Jones was doing comedy, you'd be like, wait,
here's my
weird,
thing,
man.
Here's my thing. I don't care if they're competitive and they're possibly going to fight anyways. That's okay. But if you're someone who is like out of the picture and you're just out here calling people out, then I'd have a problem with it. Like, if it's a situation with, like, Paul Felder and Justin Gaethje, like, naturally, based on their last opponent, they're most likely going to fight anyways. So that's okay if they were to kind of campaign for that. But I think if it was like Paul Felder, this was him like 2 years ago, and he had lost 4 in a row, and he was just kind of like out of the top 15, and shit wasn't going well for him. It'd be a different story, because then it would be someone using their job to get a fight, or someone who already kind of has the fight and is using their job to promote the fight. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, let's circle back here to the heavyweight picture. So we've got DC Stipe. I said it correct again. Goddamn.
Proud of you, dude.
Thank you. But
Want
then
a
the
fucking cookie, dude.
I do. But then the other fight that really ties into this title picture is we've got Junior Dos Santos versus Francis Ngannou, which I really think the winner here gets the winner of
Stipe and DC.
DC.
Oh, yes. Congrats. Yeah, I think so too.
Goddamn, I don't even know who I want it to be. There's such a resurgence here with Junior Dos Santos.
I don't know if you could sell is that a third or a fourth fight with
can you imagine
Stipe? If like in JDS.
It would be a
third or a fourth?
It'd be the third.
You sure?
They've got 2.
All right, either way. Still, fuck, man. Then Ngannou, I don't mind either one. I'd kind of like to see Ngannou more because he's younger, but I wouldn't mind seeing JDS.
I'd like to see JDS. I think that'd be cool seeing him again. He comes out to his Rocky music.
What if it was JDS DC?
Back from the dead. Oh, well, that's still a decent fight.
I like that fight as well.
I like that fight too. And if DC were to beat Stipe again, then I will quit my litany of shit talking about the eye pokes and give him his due props.
I think he's going to.
Stipe is going to.
I think he's going to, and it's going to set up a John Jones third fight at heavyweight.
At what point do you think this 42 years old will catch up with Daniel Cormier?
When John Jones knocks him out of heavyweight.
I don't know if DC would risk that. Let's say he does beat Stipe. And let's say he gets the winner of Ngannou, JDS beats them. I think he's much more likely to retire than risk that legacy. Because if John Jones beats him a third time, then he goes out a fucking loser. And that'll be the story. Like John Jones kicked your ass down at 205, then followed you up to heavyweight and beat your ass at heavyweight and you retired off into the sunset.
We've talked about this before. Imagine being DC, bro.
I feel bad
just
for
like,
DC if that happened.
Cael Sanderson never could beat Cael Sanderson in wrestling.
And he could never beat John Jones in.
Never beat John Jones in fighting. It's like, fuck, man.
But if he beats Stipe and
imagine
then
if
defends again and retires.
Imagine if DC was like 5 years before.
They'd give him the defense record too, wouldn't it?
What? 3?
If he did that?
Okay, so
he defended against Lewis. So he has one.
Defended against Lewis.
And then
he'd have to
Stipe,
beat
JDS. Or
JDS or Ngannou, and then John.
Well, that would be 3. He would tie it.
Well, no, it'd be 4 if he beat John.
That. But if he didn't fight John, I'm saying if he avoided that and then just retired, he would tie the record of 3 defenses.
I don't think he'd want to tie it. I think he'd want to beat it. And maybe fight.
There'll probably be some
whoever's a contender at that time.
Another contender at that time at heavyweight. It changes so quick.
Yeah.
Whoever puts 2 wins together will be like, okay, there you go.
Yep. Or maybe John.
Maybe.
That'd make that fight even bigger.
I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it and support it and love it. But man,
and it would give John some time to clear out the light heavyweight division as well. You know what I'm saying?
You think anybody's ever going to beat John Jones?
It's going to be rough. If they do, it's going to be a situation where he's like flash knocked out or something. I don't think anyone's going to go in there and handle John Jones and take him to a decision and beat him. But I think if he were to lose, there's a difference in getting beat and losing. Like, you can lose to anyone, but I don't think anyone will ever beat John Jones. Like, you can. This is fighting.
So you think make a mistake and
anybody can catch anybody with a head kick or a punch on the right place and knock somebody out. But I don't think there's anybody in the UFC that's ever going to come along and do what Kamaru Usman did to Tyron Woodley to John Jones. I don't think that will ever happen to him.
I mean, either.
I think there's plenty of situations where he could possibly be knocked out or caught in a submission or stuff like that. but no one's gonna ever beat him down. Is what I'm, like. That's,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
way.
I agree. Let me hit this bong here.
No matter how far he goes into it, like age wise too. Like, I just don't see that ever happening to him.
I don't either. I think it could have happened before all of the trouble, but since then.
But I could see like someone like Johnny Walker or someone like that, like a year and a half, 2 years down the line, like catching him with a punch or something like that, and possibly knocking him out. But yeah, no domination of John Jones is ever gonna happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Plain and simple. Well, I think that gets us to our fighter who smokes today.
Yes, I do believe it does.
This week we're gonna go with women's fighter. We're gonna go with Cynthia Calvillo.
Cynthia Calvillo. She's a good fighter, man. She's a beast.
Yep. Well, and the reason we bring her up is not as much as that she's like a huge activist for cannabis or anything, but she's dealt
Publicly,
with.
at least, right.
Yeah. At least like publicly. But she famously about a year and a half, 2 years ago, got suspended for 9 months for testing for high levels of cannabis in her system by USADA, which is bullshit.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
NAC as well, Nevada
Athletic Commission. Right, and which is unusual because there's a lot of factors at play here. Because number one, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she's a medical patient in California.
At the time,
right?
she had been a medical patient for 2 years already.
And being residents here in Nevada, we know that for a fact that the state recognizes out-of-state marijuana cards and honors them.
But it's a
at
water
all
rule is the problem.
dispensaries. But so we've got the state, though, following a water rule for sanctioning a bout in their own jurisdiction.
Yeah. She
And
says
favoring the water rules over their own state laws, which is just a weird sequence of events.
super weird.
It's odd.
Super weird.
So she gets suspended 9 months, you're saying?
Yeah. And then she has a few interviews with MMA Fighting, kind of explains her cannabis use in the past. She said that she used it for sleep. She said she broke her arm 3 times earlier in her career and used CBD and THC to kind of like relax her body more and try to not use
the
like
opioid pills. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's legit.
So I don't know, man. It's a tough one for me. I hate to see that to happen to anyone this day and age because there's so many places that it's already legal anyways, and
Right.
the only problem is there's so many varying laws across the United States is the problem. Like in Nevada, you could drive down the street with a cartridge in your pocket. In Texas, you get caught with a cartridge in your pocket, you're going to jail, prison. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
so,
it's an absurdity that the federal government could help out with if they would simply declassify it, remove it off of Schedule 3, drugs.
Yep.
Decriminalized nationwide, they would solve the majority of these types of issues.
100%.
Well, she is back. I'm a figure she's probably still smoking because didn't she say that she had talked to Jeff Nowitzki?
Yeah, she that's the thing too. Is like she had been in contact with Jeff Nowitzki since her entry into the UFC and had constant contact with everyone, telling them that everything she was doing. So it sucks to see that happen.
She's treating it like
a professional.
Like a professional in states where it's perfectly legal to use that substance. And sounds like she did everything the right way, and then still gets. I mean, let's be honest, 9 months isn't that awful.
Yeah. I mean, she's already come back and fought since then.
Yeah,
so.
She's come back and fought since then. I mean, it's just shy of a year. A year sounds worse. It's only a 90-day difference, but the way the fight cycles go, she definitely at least missed out on probably one payday.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, which is shitty.
And we've talked about the suspensions in USADA and stuff, how they need to be changed and restructured for fighting rather than Olympic competition, because 2 years and a year for suspensions is just tough. It's tough on a career.
Those things were made with the Olympics in mind.
Yeah.
Those original
World
guidelines
Championships
where when you punish somebody with the 2-year thing. Well, that's when you have events every 2 years. So
Yeah.
it has a 2-year ban. That's not when you fight 3 times a year.
Yep.
You can't.
Exactly.
It's even more egregious than using the boxing's 10-point must system and trying to apply it to fucking MMA. Now
Yeah.
you're taking rules built for Olympians and trying to
It's weird.
put it into a sport where some people fight 5 and 6 times in a year, especially on these lower levels.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
what the
sure.
fuck?
It's crazy.
And nobody fixes it.
No, yeah, no one gives a fuck.
Nobody fixes it. The guys won't unionize. We just keep on in the wild, wild west. But fuck, we're on ESPN. Isn't she a Eddie Bravo student too?
I want to say, yeah. She's a tough
Yeah.
mofo.
Yeah, that 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu is no joke.
Yeah, she's a tough mofo for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. I think she's
And,
got a long fucking career ahead
yeah.
of her. She's tough as nails.
And she's been in some big fights already.
Yeah.
And she's held her own every single time. So.
Absolutely. And she's good on the mic too. She's got some self-promotion skills. She's an interesting person.
Yeah.
And hopefully she's still smoking that fine weed.
Shout out to her.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I think that wraps up our show today.
I think it does. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thank you for liking, for subbing, for subscribing, all that stuff. You can hear us on WBUZ 95 on radio.net and the Orange Radio app on Thursdays at 6 p.m. on the West Coast here in Vegas, 9 p.m. Eastern. We, of course, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us on all the major distribution channels. You can catch video on YouTube. You can find all that information where at?
SWATMA.com.
We got shirts. We got gear.
Shirts, gear. You can go check out on there. Support the podcast. Drop a like, drop a comment on YouTube. And don't be a dick.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Peace.